So guys, with the remake of Poltergeist coming out this weekend, I figured I'd take a look back at the previous Poltergeist films. Poltergeist is a 1982 classic horror movie directed by Tobe Hooper and written and produced by Steven Spielberg. Poltergeist is about the Freeling family who live in a small suburban neighborhood in California where their youngest daughter, Carol Ann, played by Heather O'Rourke, starts to hear strange voices coming from the television static. Supernatural things start to happen, like chairs move on their own, and it's really cool at first until one night when their son Robbie gets taken out of his bedroom window by a possessed tree and Carol Ann gets abducted by the spirits into her closet to the other side. Now, I'm a huge horror fan and I love classic horror movies from the 70s and 80s especially, and Poltergeist is one of my all-time favorites. Now, one of the interesting things about this movie is that even though Tobe Hooper did direct this movie, you could almost say that Steven Spielberg was a co-director because he had such a huge influence on this movie. Just by the aesthetic alone, you can tell there's a difference between Poltergeist and Tobe Hooper's other movies he's directed. He directed the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Funhouse, Eaten Alive, and they're gritty horror movies. They're good, but they're gritty and they're a different aesthetic than this movie, which has a very Spielbergian aesthetic. The suburb home, the way the kids in the family relate to each other. You could easily compare it to E.T., which also came out the same year. In fact, came out a week after this movie, and Spielberg was directing E.T. simultaneously while working on Poltergeist. Stuff in this movie like the tree taking the kid out the window. You know, there's the clown in this movie, and I'll get to that later. That was his idea. It's a Spielberg movie, guys. This is a Steven Spielberg movie that he is not credited with directing. First off, the acting in this movie is so great. All of them, including the kids. Most of the time, kid actors end up being really annoying or really bad, but Heather O'Rourke really does actually sell you on her role, and that's great for the movie's benefit because you really care about this family. You feel legitimately sad when their daughter is taken. When you watch this movie and see Craig T. Nelson and Jo Beth Williams acting in those scenes, it's not like they're just actors acting out a scene. You get the feeling like they're an actual couple who just lost their daughter and who believe they could maybe get their daughter back, but they just need to know how. Also, the screenplay is really well written in this movie. You don't just get horror moment after horror moment after horror moment, but you also get mixed with it a build-up at the beginning that shows the spirits as fun, as interesting, as even beautiful. And it really looks into the afterlife not as just this evil, horrible thing and these spirits are going to get you, but in this movie that they are also just lost souls. Also, there are some great creepy moments in this movie, like when Carol Ann is getting so enamored that she seems almost entranced by the television and says, "They're here." That's a great creepy sounding line. And of course, because it's Poltergeist and I can't not mention this, the freaking clown. Holy crap, that thing is creepy. I don't even have a phobia of clowns, but damn, that thing is creepy. I love the build with that when you're first introduced to the clown doll, because you just know, that at some point in this movie, that thing is going to come alive and choke that kid. Also, Jerry Goldsmith's score for this film is iconic. It's intricate. It's not just creepy and scary, but it's also beautiful. Just like the movie itself. It really works with the movie. Definitely check this score out. Also, another thing about this movie I want to mention before I wrap this review up is that the mother, Donna, played by Jo Beth Williams, later in the movie, is running outside and falls into this dug out swimming pool, but skeletons start popping up out of the mud. Well, those skeletons are actually real. Yes, they actually did use real human skeletons in this scene because they found out that the cost of getting fake skeletons would actually be more because of making them and everything like that. That's really creepy. I thought I'd mention that though, because that's a little fun tidbit, and it's really ironic because the movie itself is about what happens when you desecrate human remains, and they're desecrating human remains. Anyways, to wrap this up, I love this movie. This is one of my favorite 80s horror movies. It goes beyond everything you would expect from this kind of movie. It's about family. It's about the afterlife. both the good and the bad of the afterlife. It's about the beauty of the afterlife and everything. It's just a great horror movie, and I'm going to give this 5 out of 5 stars. Okay, that's my review of Poltergeist, and stay tuned for the sequels, and of course, the review of the remake coming out this weekend. And please like, comment, and subscribe. See ya.